Okay, once your walls become a little bit stronger, mine are still soft, but I'm gonna attempt to flip it. Don't try and pick it up to flip it. Get another board, one of the canvas boards, something, and flip it. That's called a potter's flip. Flip it so that you don't have to pick it up and move it. So you can see here that my edges are not connected. I haven't been able to address them. So before I put the bottom on, I'm going to address them and get them smooth together. So I'm just gonna use my fingers to seal up that seam. I am trying not to put too much downward pressure because I do not want to collapse this piece. If there are some things that need to be shaved off, or if my walls got a little distorted, I'm gonna fix the shape of them. So if you look at my edges, they look a little distorted, so I'm just gonna push them in. If you look here, it's on a big slope. So I'm just gonna push it in so that it stands back up the way that I initially had it. And I'm just gonna go around and smooth all those edges. I'm gonna start with my fingers. The one thing I wanna try to avoid doing is incorporating water. I have some of you that love to sponge everything, even if I tell you not to. For those of you that like to sponge everything, at the very end of this process, you can use a sponge that has absolutely no water dripping from it. So it is completely wrung out. And you can use a sponge to kind of tidy those edges up, but not until you've exhausted using your finger. You can use, and you can use this at any point, the metal rib to kind of help get those two pieces to compress. So I'm just using this tool to push the two pieces together, and then I'm going right over that seam to kind of make it disappear. Your piece at this point will look sloppy. It's okay. We're gonna clean it up. Just like we did with the coil pots, as soon as it sets up, you're gonna be able to go back in, use the serrated rib, shave off anything that is too high, add more clay to places that are too low, and then use the ribs to kind of smooth everything over. So it's easy to get focused on little things that look like they're gonna ruin everything in the end, but try not to get too obsessed with them. At this point, your goal is to get those two pieces, that bottom piece and the coils that you just made, sealed together. Also, another goal is if you have things that are sticking out and that you don't like, to kind of fix them right now before we put that other bottom piece on. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna use my finger to smooth over any rough edges. And I'm going to take a very, very dry sponge, no water is dripping from it, and I'm just gonna go over that seam. If your piece is wanting to collapse at all while you're doing this, it's not ready, flip it over and wait until it's set up a little bit more. So the only thing that looks really good on my piece right now is this flat piece. My walls are still a disaster. Don't obsess, don't worry too much. To wrap the piece up, I'm gonna rest this on top, but I don't advise you to do that. I'm gonna put plastic down first. Tuck all the plastic underneath so that it's nice and tight. Put this down and flip back over. I'm gonna just make sure my walls are how I want them. And then before I can put that top piece up, these walls have to set up a little bit. So I'm just gonna leave it out. If you're leaving for the period, make sure that you wrap up really well. The tighter and the closer the plastic is to your piece, including in these little grooves, the less likely you will come into class disappointed. And then nothing is worse than leaving a bag like this and then slowly over the night it starts to open. So just make sure that you tuck under all of your edges. Do not put your work with anybody else's in a bag. Do not put your work on top of anybody else's. You want your own bag and your own space on the shelf. All right, next time we'll put the top back on, or next time we will put the top on and then let it set up so that we can really clean it up.